ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to each one of you to this discussion on India's evolving strategic landscape and contemporary policy challenges. This evening, we come together to reflect on the ideas, choices, and strategies that are shaping India's role in the world. I'm Ritika, and I'll be your host for today. We are deeply honored to have with us an eminent personality whose work has been significantly influenced both national thought and international dialogue. Dr. Ram Madhav is a social leader, an author, and a thinker. He currently serves as the president of the India Foundation, a think tank based in New Delhi, where he has been instrumental in shaping global and national initiatives such as the Indian Ocean Conference, the Dharma Conference, the ASEAN India Youth Summit, and the Counter-Terrorism Conference. Most recently, he played a key role in ideating the Religion 20 Forum as part of the G20 process. Previously, Dr. Madhav was the National General Secretary of the Bharatiya Janata Party from 2014 to 2020, where he oversaw political affairs in Jammu and Kashmir, Assam, and India's northeastern states. He is also a prolific author and thinker, having written extensively in both English and Telugu. His widely acclaimed works include The New World, 21st Century Global Order and India, The Indian Reality, Because India Comes First, Reflection on Nationalism, Identity and Culture, Partitioned Freedom, The Hindutva Paradigm, Integral Humanism and the Quest for a Non-Western Worldview, Uneasy Neighbors, India and China after 50 years of the war, and Our Constitution, Our Pride. His thought leadership also finds expression in leading publications such as the Indian Express, the Hindustan Times, and Open Magazine. He had been the editor of Bharatiya Pradnya, a monthly magazine in English published by Pradnya Bharati, and associate editor of Jagriti, a Telugu weekly. Dr. Madhav has addressed some of the world's most prestigious forums, including the Valda Discussion Club in Russia, the Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore, the Halifax Security Forum in Canada, and the BRICS Political Forum in China. We are also privileged to be joined by Ambassador Gautam Bambawale, trustee, Pune International Centre, former ambassador to Bhutan and China, former High Commissioner to Pakistan, and Dr. Amita Yadwadkar, Assistant Professor, Department of Economics, Savitribai, Phule, Pune University. Before we begin, a few housekeeping notes. Please keep your mobile phones on silent mode throughout the session. The discussion will be followed by a Q&A session. We kindly request the audience to refrain from photography or video recording unless authorized. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Madhav, Ambassador Bambawale, and Dr. Yadwadkar on stage. Now, I request Ambassador Bambawale to take over. The stage is yours, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ritika, and a warm welcome to all of you. I think I will start off the conversation by saying, as Ritika has already done, that we are going to keep a lot of time for questions from the floor. So you will get your chance to ask questions, and please do ask those questions when we open it out to the floor. Dr. Madhav, maybe I should start with your latest book, which is, as Ritika has also pointed out, called The New World, 21st Century Global Order and India. Copies of the book are available outside to those who want to buy them. But in this particular book, Dr. Madhav, you have mentioned that there are 10 major trends in international politics today. And 3 of those trends, which are very, very important, are as follows. The first is the rise and continued rise of China. The second is the relative decline of the United States, and I underline relative. And the third is, of course, this increasing and enhancing competition between the 2 major powers, between the 2 superpowers, if you want to call them that, which is China on the one hand and the US on the other. You call it the new Cold War or a renewed Cold War. So could I start by asking you, what do you think is going to be the trend in this Cold War as we move ahead over the next 10, 15, even 20 years? And what should countries like India do in this increasing competition between the two major powers?
Thank you so much, Ambassador Bambawale. Let me at the outset thank the Pune International Centre for hosting this discussion today and inviting me to take part in it. And I would like to especially thank Ambassador Gautam Bambawale for taking that initiative in bringing me to this conversation. And I also register my great appreciation for the excellent premises that Pune International Centre has got today. Congratulations to you. And it befits the stature of this institution. That's what I wrote in my observation also. So hearty congratulations to all the international, these institutions, leadership, Firodia Saab and Treasurer Saab. We in our organizations have treasurers, but there is no treasure generally with think tanks. I hope you have treasure also in your think tank. Going to the issue that you raised, you flagged. I made these 3 points as the first 3 chapters of my book. Rise of China, and as you rightly underscored, relative decline of the West in general, but the US in particular, and the ensuing Cold War between the US and China, which I called as the New Cold War. I predicted that it would continue for some time. Maybe next 10 to 15 years, we will see that situation continuing. But there will be an important difference between the Cold War that we witnessed in the last century and this new Cold War that is raging. The difference being, in the previous edition of that Cold War 1.0, you can call it, countries had no option except either to side with one of those powers or just remain, as some of us tried to do, as non-aligned countries. Meaning we are neither with you nor with you. We are just non-aligned. I mentioned about it, I said it was a passive kind of policy that we adopted. We did not want to be a party to that Cold War which was going on between 2 blocs. It was not just 2 countries, it was 2 blocs. Countries that had option to choose either side chose one of the sides, and those became 2 power blocs. One was led by the USSR and the other was led by the US and NATO countries and all that. In the new Cold War, it is not necessary that each country should opt for one side or the other. That's why my next chapter talks about the rise of a number of middle powers. These middle powers today have the capacity, the leadership, and the gumption to say that while I don't side with either of you, I don't hesitate to deal with both of you. That will be an important feature of this new Cold War. You see our own case today. We deal with China also, we deal with USA also, we deal with Saudi Arabia also, we deal with Iran also, we deal with Israel also, we deal with Palestine also. We use the power of that choice, which was not there in the previous Cold War era. If you don't want to join blocs, you just stay out, keep quiet. But today, there is a new kind of order which is creating a group of powers which can be called middle powers. And these middle powers are not less influential. Each of them has its own area of influence. They have enormous power to make or break things in a given region. For example, I may remind to you that this time when we had that 4-day conflict with Pakistan, generally whenever there was any such standoff, we used to blame 1/3 country, namely China. We used to say that, Pakistan gets all the support from China. This time we also added one more country, Turkey. Where did Turkey come from? Today, Turkey rose as an important middle power in Eurasia. It has mastered certain defense technologies, especially UAV technologies, drone technologies. Using those technologies, it is now rising as an important military power, important influential power in the non-Arab world, especially non-Arab Muslim world, but also spreading its influence to many other parts of the region at least. So like that, there will be middle powers which will be playing an important role. In that, I consider India also as an important middle power. It has its own influence today. That is the kind of situation we will face in this ensuing Cold War, in this raging Cold War. This Cold War is going to be there for some time, but not necessary that countries should either sit at home, watch it helplessly, or join one of the blocs. We have a third option today.
Dr. Madhav, I'd like to now, open probably the most hottest topic going around today, that is of the Trump tariffs. And we all know that, there are 50% tariffs have been levied on Brazil and also on India and probably on China also. And all these countries are very major countries in the BRICS forum. So my question is, what do you think, how do you think BRICS is going to respond to this? And earlier on, BRICS has also tried to, talk about alternative to dollar, so the whole issue of de-dollarization, to start payments in some other currency other than dollar. So, do you think that will, how will this pan out? What do you think?
As far as that de-dollarization aspect is concerned, I devoted one full chapter to it. I would like to stress on a very important point. That de-dollarization is not something that we are discussing. We means the world is discussing today. This whole discussion began in 1950s. Charles de Gaulle, the then very prominent leader of Europe and president of France, he was the one who began this discussion about reducing the influence of dollar. He was the one who created European Economic Community in 1953 or 54, telling his European colleagues, other countries in the European region, that why should we be subjected to the dominance of dollar? Why not we have our own arrangement for trade? Out of which it took some time, after 3 decades, 4 decades, because we all know that after Second World War, many European countries were in deep economic distress. They depended on Marshall Plan. They depended on dollar support. So initially, it did not immediately materialize into going directly against the dollar. But by 1990s, Europe came together and created its own currency, the euro. And let me mention here that in less than 3 decades' time, euro is the second most traded currency in the world. 21% of the world's trade happens through euro today. Without making too much fuss, a currency has been created there. Pound sterling has always been an important trading currency in the world. Today also, it occupies 16% of global trade. Now, renminbi, the Chinese currency, it's rising. Japanese currency has some traction in some parts of the world. We are also trying. Rupee also, today, we are asking more and more countries to trade in rupee. We trade with 18 countries in rupee currency. There are challenges, I don't get into those challenges, but technically we can trade in rupee with 18 countries. So today, there is, of course, definitely a process of de-dollarization happening, but it is not necessary that there should be another one alternative to dollar. There can be multiple types of currencies that will be floating around in the trade and economic world. Then, over and above that, we have entered this very big tech era of cryptocurrencies. Once the crypto era advances further, maybe all these currencies, dollar, yuan, all these currencies may become irrelevant. And secondly, there is a huge effort to bring gold back as the global transaction medium. Whether gold will come back or its place will be taken over by cryptocurrencies is something one has to watch. By the way, when I talk about crypto, it will be surprising to know that in crypto order, the fourth largest minter of cryptocurrencies is Bhutan. Can we imagine a tiny country minting crypto coins? Because they had the access to that kind of energy, they had access to certain resources. They are now investing heavily on cryptocurrency. So we are entering into a very fascinating world. But to that specific question about BRICS, what it should do or what it would do, I can say, again, I wrote about it extensively in the book. BRICS did try to come up with an alternate currency, BRICS currency. Although, if you ask the BRICS leadership today, Mr. Putin or Mr. Xi Jinping, they will deny. No, we never tried. But BRICS, when it met in Johannesburg in 2023, Johannesburg, the president of Brazil, Lula, openly said, why should we follow this dollar currency? Why not we have our own currency? Then a discussion ensued. Their discussion did take place at Johannesburg as to whether we can create a BRICS currency. India put its foot down. India said, all right, if you don't want to deal with dollar, have other means of doing business. Because after all, for example, China has yuan trade agreements with 124 countries. It does trade in renminbi with 124 countries. Do it. Nobody is stopping. But to create a new currency only to defeat dollar will be a suicide. Many countries will suffer because of that. So we generally did not support that idea. But when the next meeting happened in Russia, Kazan, at Kazan, before Kazan, Putin held a meeting with leading industrial houses and economists of Russia in St. Petersburg. In that meeting, he discussed about the possibility of coming up with a BRICS currency. A note was prepared. That note was circulated to all the participating ministers of BRICS, I think BRICS foreign ministers or BRICS finance ministers. A note was circulated. I actually quoted from that note also. But again, some wisdom dawned on those countries. They finally decided not to take up that issue of creating an alternate one currency for the whole world. Why I'm mentioning is probably we have to wait. There is a transition happening. An old order is receding. In its place, a new order is yet to take place. We are in that interim. In this phase, we should not jump to any such hasty conclusions. We have to wait and see what kind of a world will take shape. Then these questions can be better answered, I think.
Very interesting, Dr. Ram Madhavji. Let me explore this thing about competition between the two major powers, the United States on the one hand and China on the other, a wee bit more with you and your idea that the middle powers are not now strong enough to deal with both of them. But what we see happening over the last few months from the United States, from President Trump, of putting tariffs on India, are not only aimed at trying to prevent India from buying oil from Russia. I think it is even deeper. The United States wants India to clearly become a clear alliance partner with the United States in a junior position, and that is what the Trump attempt seems to be to me. On the other hand, Russia and China together are also wooing India to be a part not only of BRICS, but also to be close to them. So as this competition between the two intensifies in the coming years, are you confident that India will be able to steer clear of both sides, not have to become the follower of one camp or the other, and continue on its path of autonomous, standing autonomously, etc.? Do you think we are strong enough to do that? Are you confident we'll be able to do that? And will the pulls and pressures become even greater as we move ahead?
whether we will be able to do that, as a diplomat, you can tell us better. Whether we should do that, I would say we should. You know, Trump is certainly behaving in a manner that defies not only logic but also any answers. You know, in Mahabharata, a very interesting question comes up. Why did Karna die? So then philosophers say there can be 100 different reasons you can give for Karna's death. So why is Trump behaving like this? There can be 100 different reasons to explain his behavior. But I would only caution you that he is not behaving in the manner which he is doing with India, not just with India alone. He is behaving in the similar manner with at least 20 other countries. And those 20 countries are not, all of them are not China. He subjected closest allies like Canada to such harsh sanctions regime, tariffs regime. So he has a definite view about what he wants to do with his country's economy. He's using tariffs as a means to probably take his country in a particular direction. This benefit of doubt I'm giving to him. But that doesn't mean what he's doing to India can be probably, you can say it's okay, we will take it lightly. No, it's a very serious thing. India has to deal with this kind of situation that is presented by Trump before us today. One reason could be, the competition, that intense competition between the US and China. And he clearly sees that China has the backing of countries like Russia and a few other BRICS partners. In the entire Eurasian region, he sees India as one country which can support the US, and India's support means tilting the scales. And I can say this, and don't take it as any praise to any particular country, but China may be just a couple of months behind the US in terms of its technological advancements. It has almost reached that level where today the US is. Certainly, it is a matter of concern for the US administration. They want India firmly on their side, where China and Russia are on the other side. Now, broadly speaking, yes, we sailed with a particular kind of world order in last 70 years, which we called as international liberal order, which was broadly led by the Western powers like the US. We have been the beneficiaries of that order. We have been very comfortable in that order. We have a strong bilateral relationship with the US and many European countries, the European Union. We just simply do not want all that to simply vanish because of certain actions of the current president of the US. So we have to tackle this whole tariffs regime a little carefully, which the government is trying to do. You probably have seen one of the tweets of Trump. That tweet was, "What is happening? I'm saying so many things against India, but why is Modi not reacting?" So one of the frustrations is, why is India not saying anything? Sir, you are a diplomat. In diplomacy, it is said that talking is diplomacy, not talking is also diplomacy. So silence is also a form of diplomacy. So we are handling it quietly because we know that at the end of the day, there are certain interests that keep our two countries together. We have to sail together. There are certain interests that bind us together that we understand, but there is a temporary challenge that this needs to be tackled carefully. Now, that brings to that crucial question of the policy that we adopted, which we called, our government, Modiji's government called as strategic autonomy. Slightly different from non-alignment. As I said, non-alignment was passively staying away from the Cold War. Strategic autonomy is where you will fight between you two, you have your own clashes, your own Cold War going on, but I deal with both of you. Have no, my ultimate, in international relations, it is taught that there are no permanent friends or permanent enemies, there are only permanent interests. So what is my interest I will see, and what I see as the interest of the entire mankind, entire humanity, on that basis I deal with everybody. That strategic autonomy policy is coming under severe stress today. I totally agree with you in that. I mean, America really wants us to completely leave BRICS and completely join their own group. And on the other side, you see how much enthusiasm the Chinese side is showing today. Every day a statement comes out from China saying that no, we are standing by you. So there is another enthusiasm that there is an opportunity now wean away India from that pro-US stance and make it a part of our larger anti-US coalition. We have to be careful. Hindi mein kahavat hai, sher ka pooch nahi pakadna hai. Meaning you should never try to catch the tail of a tiger thinking that you can control it. You can never control it. But once you hold it, you can never leave it. Because if you try to leave it, it will turn around and swallow you. So better to stay away. Those who held the tail of the tiger, let them hold it. Now they are unable to leave it. They found another scapegoat, so they are asking, you come, you hold it. I will leave. So we should not get into it. That strategic autonomy in this given situation is the best policy for India. That's what our government is very rigorously pursuing today. Thank you.
It's a very interesting answer. Ram Madhavji, let me bring the focus onto India and India's growth story. So we all know that now India is one of the fastest growing large economies, and we are doing a good growth rate of 6+ percentage points. But in your book, you have said, in the latest book, you have said that when China and Japan were growing, they clocked in 2 decades of high growth rates. Japan in the 50s and 60s, and China in post-80s. And that's how they kind of became developed economies. So my question is, how do you look at India's growth story? Do you think India also needs something like this? Are we doing what we are doing is okay? Or what kind of growth story do you envisage that India will have? And especially I want to factor in the thing of AI and technology. Is it going to be an AI-driven growth, technology-driven growth? Because also I'd like to point out that China has developed its manufacturing sector, but India is more a service sector economy. So how do you foresee India's growth story going ahead?
Generally, we all feel very satisfied about the way India's economic growth is taking place today. Broadly speaking, we are on the right direction. Country is doing well in terms of basic economic parameters. We have good GDP figures today. We are above $4 trillion economy today. Those things are definitely a satisfying factor for us. But here, this I wrote also in my book, so I don't mind saying it here publicly also, that Indians as a people, we are a little romantic. We live in our own make-believe world. We have to get more realistic. We have to appreciate the good growth, good development happening around us today. Definitely, we are in the right direction, but we must remember this pace is not enough. It requires a totally new thinking. Here, you please pardon me, I have great respect for India's industry, economy, government, everybody, all of us are very proud people, proud Indians, but we are, besides being romantic, a little lethargic. We can't be lethargic now. We have to now think totally differently. The old thinking is not going to help anymore. Today's world, in the last century, what guided countries, their growth and development was trade and capital and trade. In this century, it will be capital and technology. If you don't master technologies, at least in the emerging new order, you will not be anywhere. You need good capital, good economy, no doubt. GDP figures should be very high, but what is that GDP level we should achieve? We are today at 4 trillion. We are incremental people. I said 4 आया, 5 आया तो खुश हो जाएंगे. 5 से 6 आया तो खुश हो जाएंगे. Do you know the valuation of NVIDIA? One company. It is $4 trillion. The entire GDP of our country is $4 trillion. There is one company whose valuation is $4 trillion. So we are in that kind of a world. So anything less than 10 trillion cannot be India's target. And the window is only 10 years, remember. Now, from 4 to 10 trillion in 10 years means, do you know, we have to log in 20% growth rate in all the 10 years. May I tell you, in last 75 years, not even 1 year is there when we crossed double digits in our growth. How can we be satisfied today? Indian economic community has to now think completely differently. We have entered a different world. We have to get in big time into R&D, research and development. You know, we are very poor in that area. I'm sure there are academics also here. In academic R&D, we are nowhere. I'm sorry, we have great scientists. I have great respect for elders like Michelle Karsab and all. Great respect for them. We produce such great global level scientific personalities. But today's average R&D level is pathetically low in our country. In terms of numbers also it is low. We produce 60,000 research papers in a year. China produces 4 million. US produces 1.6 million. And China has one category called 25% of them are internationally citable papers. They have created a category. You have to create papers that can be cited in international journals. We need to bring our research to that level. Not even 5% of our papers are cited internationally. They are non-citable. Why? I met a professor, with all due respects. He said that he has already produced 110 papers. How can you produce 110 papers? One good research paper requires 8 to 10 months to work. But you are producing 110 papers. So we are aggregators of ideas. We are not creators. I don't want to call it we are copiers. So we have to now turn seriously to R&D, because R&D is the basis of our technology. And investments in technology, those there are, Pune is a big industry base. Our R&D investment is pathetically low, sir. Of India's GDP, we spend 0.66% on R&D. And out of it, 68% is spent by government, 32% by private people. And take the figures of other countries which have today advanced in technologies. China spends 2.6% of its GDP. US spends almost 8% of its GDP. Now, when I say 2.6 and 8, you may say we are 7. They are 2.6, we are 3 times or 4 times less than. No, we are 0.6% of our GDP. They are 2.5% of their GDP. They spend 25 times more than us. I can give you exact figures. 15 billion is what we are spending on R&D in our country. Out of 15 billion, 4 billion private industry invests. Out of 4 billion that private industry is investing, 3.3 or 3.4 billion is invested by just one company, Tata Auto. We have to think seriously. And one IBM spends 8 billion. One IBM spends 8 billion on R&D. So we have to spend in this thing. We have to invest in these areas. We have to create our own tech research. And today, sorry, I'm taking a little longer time because it's a very important area which seriously we have to ponder over. Government is now Prime Minister understands that without this, country cannot go anywhere. So he has created semiconductors mission. He has created, quantum mission. He now created Anusandhan, R&D, huge investment, 1 lakh crore, again, close to $15 billion he has allocated, Indian rupees he has allocated for that. But do you know what is happening? We have 6,000 crores for quantum, R&D. We are not able to disburse that money because those who want to do research in quantum are not ready to commit for productization. Now they say, you give me 20 crores, I will do research for 3 years. No, but research करके क्या करोगे? No, that I can't commit. No sir, ऐसा नहीं चलता है. Government का पैसा आप 3 साल research करते रहो, 15 crore लेके, and end of it you say, no, I cannot produce anything. We have to do R&D, that is, you have to productize it. That kind of R&D we need today. I can tell you, startups are doing it in India. Small startups, they are able to do it, but they don't have capital access. They are struggling. So we have to completely revamp this ecosystem. Prime Minister is trying very hard. He has now created this Anusandhan R&D that will definitely help this R&D process to probably pick up momentum. But I again repeat, it's not just the job of the government alone. Then let us declare India as a socialist country. Let's close down every other activity. Let government do everything then. India's private industry, private economies, private institutions have to come forward, academic and corporates both have to come forward. I think that's a crucial challenge we have ahead of us in next 10 to 15 years.
That puts a lot of pressure on an institution like Pune International Centre. We also better do a lot more research with whatever little funds we have. Dr. Madhavji, to stay on this topic of economy, in a recent op-ed, you had stated that in order to grow from the current 6 to 6.5% GDP growth rate per year to get into even double digits, that there will be a next round of economic reforms which will be required. Can you spell out some of your ideas and some of the government's ideas also on what is the next round of economic reforms that will be required? Most of us already know that labor reform is something that is required, and also R&D has to be stepped up. But in your opinion, what is the next stage of economic reforms that we need to do in order to reach a double-digit GDP growth rate every year?
I would put it in two baskets. One basket is any country's economic growth for that matter, but particularly in India's case, India's economic growth is possible through whole of the nation approach. When I say whole of the nation approach, it cannot be the responsibility of Prime Minister Modi alone. It should be the responsibility of the Maharashtra government. It should be the responsibility of the Pune Metropolitan Council. It should be the responsibility of all the corporates. It has to be a whole of the nation approach that is needed. Today, we are putting major burden on the central government. Of course, central government has its role, it has to play. But today, states have to be encouraged. They have to come forward. I'm happy that a good number of states are now coming out with those plans of 2 trillion economy, 3 trillion economy, but I would only, with all humility, say that they should be realistic. They should not go into these romantic numbers. 2 trillion is not an easy number. Where you are and where you can reach, we have to be a little pragmatic. But high aim is not a crime. But, you have an aim that you also know that you cannot achieve, then you think it is my political slogan for my next election. So it should not be that way, but we need to encourage more and more states to also become economic engines of our growth. This is one basket. And of course, very importantly, corporates. Corporate investments have to increase in India. Private investors, private money has to flow in much more. And of course, we need to have sufficient foreign investment also flowing into the country that helps achieve all these goals. But that brings me to the second and most difficult part of it. The other basket is the reforms. We sometimes go with the low-hanging ones. Low-hanging ones are labor reforms, they have to happen. Land reform, another important reform that has to happen. certain kinds of other low-hanging fruits are there that we have to achieve. But the major reform has to happen in 3 areas: bureaucratic, regulatory, and judicial. These are the 3 areas which have the potential to create hurdles in our economic growth. And sometimes they are creating, privately everybody tells that what is the problem. Prime Minister has a vision, Prime Minister has a program, but down the line the system has also to gear up for that. The bureaucratic system. When I say bureaucratic system, probably there will be bureaucrats here also. Bureaucrats are not bad. We have legendary bureaucrats in our country. But the system which we inherited is that Westminster British model, which was actually created to perpetuate a colonial rule on our country. The mindset is how to block everything. Not how to give a chance to everything, but how can we block it? So we have to now probably have a major reform in these 3 areas. Regulatory institutions. Regulatory institutions should be what Chanakya said in Ardhashastra. They should be like a honeybee collecting honey, not someone who is drawing your blood. So we need to have a totally different approach to dealing with, I met with a bank manager in one of the cities. I told him, yaar, government itna paisa allocate kiya hai, why don't you support the small scale? Nowadays, government has a program by which banks can give loans up to 10 crore rupees to startups without asking for counter guarantees. But no bank gives you. They say that ठीक है, प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने अनाउंस कर दिया, गवर्नमेंट ने अनाउंस कर दिया, बट 3 साल बाद सीबीआई आएगा मेरे घर पे, एनआईए आएगा, ईडी आएगा, तो मैं क्या करूंगा? So I won't give. Maybe I will go by. I have a bank charter. I go by the bank charter. We need that reform. I'm saying these reforms are very critical for India. I wrote in today's column that 2 countries that have registered enormous growth in last 30, 40 years, or maybe you can say 50 to 70 years, are China and USA. These are the 2 countries which grew so fast. Both have political systems not identical. But there's one common feature, do you know? Common feature is political leadership is supreme in both countries. Political leadership is accountable. At the end of the day, you are accountable. In a democracy, you are accountable after every 5 years. And of course, in China, you may not be accountable for 5 years, but you are accountable because there can any day be a revolt within your party if you don't deliver, if you don't really do good things to your people. Within the country itself, there can be a revolt. So accountability will be there. Proper oversight will be there. So there is that kind of a new approach that is needed. These are core reforms. Prime Minister in 2022 speech from Lal Killa said, we have to shed all our colonial, relics that are still there. One major colonial relic is our bureaucratic system. The UPSC, Union Public Service Commission, was first created on 1st August 1926. Centenary aa raha hai next year. Right time to think about the bureaucratic model in our country. That will also be a major factor in achieving our economic targets.
Thank you very much. Lot to think about. If you permit me, Dr. Ram Madhavji, I'd like to shift the gears to talk a little about Jammu and Kashmir. You have been involved with Jammu and Kashmir affairs over many years now. You have been responsible for the election process from the BJP party there. One question which comes to all our minds is that since the revocation of Article 370, how has Jammu and Kashmir, how is the situation there changed? Many of us travel there, but we go for a few days and come back. You would probably have a better idea about how things are changing. But what change have you seen in Jammu and Kashmir since the revocation of Article 370? And if you can tell us a little bit about that.
revocation of Article 370 was a very major and I would say a very bold decision taken by Prime Minister Modi's government. There's no doubt about it. But in the last 10 years, a concerted effort took place in Jammu and Kashmir in general and Kashmir Valley in particular to free the people from the stranglehold of the separatist and terrorist forces. When I say separatist and terrorist forces, there were underground forces, but also there were overground forces. The biggest success of this government was in eliminating both the underground and overground separatist forces. As a result, people are today free from the influence of those forces. Now, once you are able to think freely, then you will understand what is happening in your neighborhood, what is happening elsewhere, and what is the life here for you. Then you will suddenly think that, yeah, I'm living happily here. 90% of the people bother about their daily bread. If it is coming properly, freely, if his life is happy, he is happy to be a proud citizen of this country. Jammu Kashmir is no exception. I've spent almost 20 years in that state. I can tell you, an average Kashmiri is no less a patriot than an average Punaikar. Please take it. But then when you come under particular influence, repeatedly you are subjected to certain influence, maybe sometimes you behave differently. Once that influence is successfully removed, then you will start thinking rationally, and that is what is happening. I can give you innumerable examples about what happens in that part of the country today. You know, on 5th August or 7th August, you can say, 2019, Article 370 was abrogated. So the government at that time had to put some 600 important leaders in Kashmir Valley under preventive detention. Please understand, it was not arrest. It was just preventive detention. And I know one 5-star hotel was vacated and all the seniors were put up there. I mean, their stay was better than their homes. It was a 5-star facility. And right on the banks of Dal Lake, morning अच्छा jogging करते थे, सब करते थे, अच्छा आनंद से रहते. So, but then after a month I happened to go to Srinagar. So, कार्यकर्ताs of the former friendly party PDP and all of them came. So I thought these people will be very angry because those who were put under detention were also leaders of PDP. When these guys came, I told them, look, nobody is arrested. They are preventive detention. They are under preventive detention. After a few months, they will be set free. You know, they came and told, sir, don't set them free. Let these guys remain there. At least we will have, our lives happy here. So you have seen between 2019 and today, there were no protests, major outbreak of violence demanding 370 back. It's no longer the agenda. Today, of course, the agenda is that we want our statehood back, a legitimate agenda. They have every right to ask for it and demand for it, but that is the major change that has happened. The influence of the separatist and terrorist forces has been greatly reduced. Yes, of course, there will be occasionally incidents like, Pahalgam, because you have a neighbor which doesn't want complete peace to be restored in that part of the country, but largely, there is no appetite or there is no support for terror or separatism. Largely, people want their lives to be peaceful. So that is, I think, one major achievement that has happened. Just I will add one rider and stop. You see, government and political system. I'm a political activist, so we also did our bit, and government has done such a tremendous thing of abrogating Article 370, thereby removing that psychological barrier. Until 370 was there was a psychological feeling we are special. Nobody is special, we are all same. So now that barrier has also been removed, so there is a sense of feeling that, okay, we are all a part of this country, that feeling is largely there. Government has done its duty, but as citizens, we have one duty. So that duty is that when you have the next holiday, you should go to Kashmir. When you have to undertake next pilgrimage, you should go to Amarnath Yatra. On a later note, if you want to do the next honeymoon, you should go to Gulmarg. I mean, you may ask what is next honeymoon. There's only one. I don't think there's any rule like that. Same people can go any number of times. Same people underlined. So, my point is we should go and tell the people there that, yeah, we are all 140 crore people, we are one nation. That sense of belongingness has to be given by us repeatedly reaching out to them. I can tell you I handled two very difficult regions. One, of course, was Jammu and Kashmir, but the Northeast. You know, Northeast, when I went in 2014-15 to start our political work in some of the states, remote states, they still had that feeling that Delhi is too far away. Delhi Durast. That was the feeling. But Prime Minister made sure that that feeling is removed. You know, not a single month used to pass without at least 3 or 4 central ministers visiting Northeast. Not a single month used to pass. As a result, in 4 to 5 years' time, a sense that Delhi is not dur, Delhi is pass. It's close to me. That sense has been created. Today, I can proudly say that on the remotest corner, Myanmar, India corner, there is a BJP flag, but also a national flag. India proudly flutters there. There is no separatism anymore in that part of the country also, because that effort has happened. But together with that, what has to happen is people's effort. We also need to contribute by visiting, meeting those people, spending time with them, so that that sense of belongingness grows. That is what probably we all have to do with Kashmir also. Thank you.
Dr. Madhav, I'd like to turn to now an idea which you have also written about in your book, is India's demographic destiny or demographic dividend. So India is a very populous country and we have a large young population. So it's considered as an advantage. But as against developed countries where they have aging populations. But the point is it enough to have this kind of population without the adequate skills? And I want to ask you about two aspects of this. One is the skilling aspect of this population, and the other is, character building. So there is this, to build up the quality of our human resources. Do you think we would need to have something like character building also? Because in our society, we see that there are a lot of these kind of problems, which you also referred to a short while back, that we are lethargic. Sometimes we are not honest in our dealings, or we are not professional in our approach, and these kind of things. So I would like you to comment on these things. That do you think character building is important in our youngsters, and how do we do it? And also, how do we skill our population so that the quality of our human resource improves enough to take us to Viksit Bharat?
Oh, of course. A very big challenge for us. As I said, at one level, we are very romantic. We can proudly say that we are the world's youngest country, etc., which we are, no doubt. 58% of our population is below the age of 35 years. That makes us the world's largest young country, people with young population. But by itself, it means nothing. In 20 years from now, Africa will have a third of world's young people, a third. But does it make Africa great? No. So that's why that famous statement by French philosopher Auguste Comte, demography is destiny. You must remember that this has to become your destiny. By merely having young population means nothing. This is it is dividend only when it can be put to productive use. We need to now seriously think about it. India's employment challenges are very severe. And, fortunately, today, Government of India and all state governments have enough welfare programs which give you food, which give you other facilities. So we may not see street riots, but that doesn't mean we have been able to achieve a good life standard for our youngsters. So there the real challenge lies for our country. And today, as I said, as we enter this deep tech era, we need to overhaul the whole pattern of skilling of our people. As far as morals part is concerned, let me just in 1 minute close that chapter, because we should not make this mistake that ethical, moral training to people is the responsibility of the government. No. On a lighter note, governments cannot be ethical and moral. Governments have to be in a Chanakyan form. They have to have their own ways of dealing with situations. Ethical, moral education is the responsibility of the society. There your point that we have become so lethargic. In my childhood, my entire moral education did not happen in government school. It happened at my house, at my temple, at my grandfather's feet, at my parents' company, in my parents' company. Today, none of us have time. Our temples have been unable to perform those things. Our lokakalas have died down. So, since we are not able to do that thing, we want government to do that, and government unnecessarily is spending on those things. I remember, moral education करके IITs में हमने departments खोला है. IITs में क्या moral education दे दोगे? When a boy becomes 18 years old, morals have to be imparted at the grassroots. Anyway, so that responsibility has to be with the society, but government's major responsibility, governments is plural. States, center, local bodies, everybody. And in that, all other agencies should be to prepare new age youngsters in our country. We have to completely overhaul our education system today. Today's education system cannot create people that can be employable. Already half of them are not employable. But you ask any industrialist, he will tell you, when they call for jobs, 5,000 applications come, in that only 5 will be really qualified. All others have engineering degrees, but no required skills. So we need to completely revamp it. In China today, at the primary level, algorithm making is being taught at the primary level. They decided that just one language sikha do, algorithm training sikhao. Baki mathematics, science, physics, history, सीख लेंगे ना बाद में. This is what is needed for our country. That's what they decided. We need to think afresh about our entire education system and all that. That's why in 2020, Modi government introduced this new education policy, NEP. NEP's whole purpose was that let institutions take that freedom and create education models or education syllabus, curriculum in a manner that would suit the situation of that place. If it is in Pune, what are the skills required for a youngster in Pune? First of all, there should be a major discussion about it. Then, how do we incorporate it into our education system? Second discussion. Then education and industry collaboration. These are the new ways we have to think about our entire education system. Skilling, reskilling and upskilling is the way forward. No option. Today you can't have any other option. You can't stop this technology's march forward. It is marching forward. We have to skill, reskill and upskill our people. Gigantic thing, but no option. We have to do it.
One last question from the stage before we open up to the floor. It appears to me that you like coming to Pune. Last 4 months you have been here once every month. And, but there are problems in urban India, the problem of urban decay. And you can see it even here in Pune or in other cities of India. The roads are not in good shape. Garbage is not being cleared properly. If there's a rainfall, then you immediately see flooding. So if I can ask you, Dr. Madhavji, what is the problem here and how do we solve it? How do we sort it out? How do we repair this issue, repair this problem?
I have a huge respect for Pune, so I don't want to say anything negative about the city as such, but it is a common problem across the country. Urban management has become a real big challenge. You talked about waste management. I would say traffic management, air quality management, basic urban amenities management. In all these areas, somehow we are unable to cope up with the growing urbanization process in our country. Sometimes I get, it frustrates me when I see a chief minister announcing that I'm creating in my state one quantum city, one AI city, one genetic city, one this city, one that city. Existing city you are not able to give power. We have become just romantic people. We have to seriously think, if you can't manage your city, how can you think of becoming Vishwaguru? Can't we manage our cities? We can manage. But somehow that thing doesn't sit in our scheme of things. Again, I don't want to be critical about our bureaucracy, but we have a bureaucratic system where, with all due respects, we created a civil services which is expert in everything. Like today, he is Secretary of Urban Development. Tomorrow, he is Secretary Globalization. Next year, he is Secretary Gobar Gas. All three he is expert. Can you show me one human who is expert in all these areas? But we have a system which, endorse that expertise on a particular officialdom. Individual officials, I am not saying, they are very great people. But you have a system like that. Urban management is the subject of experts. Why don't you hand it over to them? Prime Minister tried, lateral entry. Limited success. There is a mechanism by which they are expelled in no time. So we need to seriously think about if in 2025 we feel that we are unable to manage traffic in our Pune city. When I say Pune city, I just came back from Kanpur. Kanpur, to get into city and get out of it is probably as difficult as it is in Pune. Every city is like that. In Delhi, I come from Gurgaon to Delhi city in 20 minutes. From once you enter Delhi city to reach your office, which is half the distance that you already traveled, it takes 40 minutes. You can't manage it. Can't we? We can. These are basic things, sir. And don't say that we have a lot of population and all. You always have to go by density of population. And this kind of density exists in many cities. Beijing has this density. Many cities have this density that we have. We have to shed that lethargy. We have to work hard in preparing those plans. Then we can do it. And let me close by giving you an example also how we think, how incremental we think. I very well remember in early 2000, I was in Hyderabad. Mr. Chandrababu Naidu was the chief minister. He decided to build 26 flyovers across Hyderabad city. The flyovers that you see in Hyderabad city were all constructed when Chandrababu Naidu was the chief minister. So 26 flyovers were constructed. We used to have a director of IIT Delhi, Professor Narasimhan. We invited Professor Narasimhan for a program we used to have an intellectual forum like this. We invited him for that program. And Mr. Chandrababu used to have a lot of interest in engaging with all those people. Even now he still has that interest. So he invited Professor Narasimhan to his house. Narasimhan was one of those legendary technocrats of our country. So Chandrababu gave a presentation about flyovers and all. Narasimhan asked a simple question. Sir, it's a great thing that you did it. You wanted to ease the traffic congestion on the road, so you built flyovers very good. But what will you do after 10 years if flyovers get clogged by traffic? There was no answer from his officials. And you go to Hyderabad today, all flyovers are clogged. We are unable to think beyond our nose. Your planning should be for 50 years. Your planning should be at least for 20, 30 years. We are not able to do that. Remember in 1960s, the US invested on its highways. 1960s. Little changes they make here and there now. They invested at the time in such a way that they can work for 50, 60 years without any problem. But show me one highway which is not under repairs every 5 years. Something is very difficult with us. We are somehow unable to think big. We are unable to have that grand vision. Arun Shourie always used to say, we don't want any more engineers in this country. We have so many engineers. We need Imagineers. Those who can imagine what is Pune 20 years from now, we should be able to imagine it. Then he used to say, then we need people who can reverse engineer. I want to be at so-and-so place in 2040, then where should I be in 2039, 38, 37, 35? Then decide where you have to be in 25. Not based on 24, based on 30, 40, 50. That is not happening in our country. That's why I said, with all due respect, lethargy and romanticism. Two big evils we have to shed. Thank you.
We are going to open it up to the floor, to the audience, to all of you now. We'll take 2 questions at a time. So please, those who want to ask a question, put your hand up. I can see a few hands up. But what you should do is please state your name, introduce yourself, and ask your question. Try to be as short as possible. We'll take 2 questions at a time. Yes, please.
Good evening, sir. Your lecture was excellent. We learned a lot on the bureaucracy and the reforms the cities should have. Now, my question is very simple. There were electoral bonds of 1 crore each, and they were to be given to any political party as per the demand, and it was given. Now, the electoral bonds have been cancelled, or they are not operational. That's first question. Second is, do you, sir, think the Lok Sabha elections and the state elections should be taken together? Thank you.
Okay. There was another hand up here. And please ask only 1 question. Each person, 1 question. Can't have 1 person asking 2 and 3 and 4 questions. Yes, please.
Madhav Jain. Sir, I want to ask 1 question only, that what we are seeing, that there is some diplomacy gap of New Delhi to dealing with Washington, as we think Pakistan tariff is reducing by US, but simultaneously they increase the India, like basmati rice is now expensive in US as compared to India. So how can you think it will give the pressure to Kashmir and our diplomacy gap? Like we saw, there is Ajit Doval sir, also the S. Jaishankar sir is also there. So how they are dealing it?
Okay. Can I take it? Yeah. As far as the electoral bonds issue is concerned, it was a Supreme Court decision which led to right now closure of that system. But as a politician, let me tell you, that is tip of the iceberg. What is actually spent in elections and what comes in the name of electoral bonds is just very small. So that's why political parties are not really bothered about it. I think it's a decision taken by the court. Simultaneous elections is a great idea. You know, for a country like India, if we can at least achieve simultaneous elections for state assemblies and central parliament and Parliament of India together, that will help in allowing enough time for people to govern. Today, elections every 6 months is anyway making governance the real victim. Governance is suffering. It's a great idea. But unfortunately, we are unable to build that consensus in the parliament. Once that consensus can be built, probably that will become a reality. If it comes back, it will be a good thing for a country like India, I can tell you. A few small adjustments have to be made. Like, whenever we do that, we have to do away with no confidence motion. You can't have no confidence motion. Then you may say, then what will happen to democracy? Instead, you can only have confidence motion. It's easy to declare no confidence against an existing government. But if I were to actually say that no, not he, but he is my choice, there lies the challenge. So then there is stability. You can change the government, but you cannot pull the government down. A major, everybody has to accept no confidence motion, only confidence motion. You can say that I repose my faith in so-and-so leader. So such some small changes have to be made. Then that process can be really beneficial for our country. Let's hope sometime that will be a reality. As far as this tariffs issue is concerned, don't fall for that propaganda that probably our foreign, our external affairs ministry has failed or something like that. No. As I said earlier, it's not happening just with India. It's happening with many other countries. Trump is following a particular template. In that template, he is dealing with different countries in different ways. Our system has tried its best to tackle the kind of challenge. That's okay. Right now, we have some amount of setback. We will overcome it. The relationship is too big to be sacrificed because of certain challenges like this. And there is no need for self-flagellation. हम तो ये कर दिया, हमारा failure. नहीं. Best foreign ministry होते, इससे भी बहुत बेहतर foreign ministry होता तो भी ट्रम्प यही करने वाला था. Trump had his template right. Not that you have anything wrong. Trump operates at a transactional level. He had certain transactional activity with Pakistan that suited him. Many things, it's a big subject, I don't get into it. Like, tomorrow Taiwan Straits crisis happens. He needed some ports to anchor his warships. That Karachi will provide tomorrow. There is an understanding. We hear that even Bangladesh is agreeable. We can't agree. We are a country which never took part in any conflict, any outside conflict. That's our principle. So there are many factors. So there is no need to think that it's our failure and he is doing it. No, it's his style. We are trying to tackle him and trying to understand the style and tackle him in a befitting manner.
Next round of questions. Let's go to the back. There is a hand up, very high up. So we'll take please introduce yourself and please keep your question as short as possible.
Thank you. I am Nishka Kataria, and during the making of Make in India 2015, there were special economic zones allocated. 440 of them were allocated and today 22 are operational. There is a huge amount of reallocated resources that could have been made to ensure that India exports more and import less, but that has not been done. What are your suggestions to this? Also, does there need to be a 2.0 version of the Make in India that is going to be more productive and more useful for the country?
And one more hand right behind. Yes, please.
Hello. So my question is regarding China. There is a perception, I don't have personal proof, but there is a perception that China steals technology and builds on that. That is point number one. And second is that the government heavily subsidizes their companies to go and beat the world. So you had just mentioned that the private sector should also be involved. Should the government not be helping the private sector in beating the world? So your views on both of these.
Make in India is a continuing program. You are right, the success rate was, it could have been much better, but there definitely has been a major boost to Make in India activity. In fact, in the startup world, you see huge progress. We have 1.5 million startups. Not all are successful, I'm not saying, but 70-80% of those startups have been able to really come and manufacture things for our people. So Make in India as a process is a successful program. It's a continuing program. Yes, SEGs, probably it could have been better. I don't deny that. That can be said about many other areas also. We tried about smart cities. We could only go to some level. We could not really achieve it 100%. But government has tried its best. We have several other factors which needed to be further, probably adjusted, upgraded and all that. So Make in India will be a continuing program. Government's emphasis, I don't know if you have heard Prime Minister's speech from the Red Fort on 15th August. Now Prime Minister is emphasizing that we have to become self-reliant, that is Make in India, even in deep tech areas. He talked about semiconductors, he talked about, he asked that very important question. He said, we are making aircraft, Tejas we are making. Tejas is the Indian version of our defense aircraft we are making. But the engine of Tejas comes from GE or some other company in US. Can we make jet engines in our country itself? Is the question that he raised. So Make in India has been a major commitment or article of faith with this government that will definitely continue. China is a very fascinating story. Incidentally, of course, Bambawale ji is a big expert on China. He served there, he knows much better. But I have studied that country. I had the opportunity to visit so many times. So I can tell you, about China, we have so many different perceptions. But the reality is, at the end of the day, it was successful. Whether it stole the technology, our government supported it, आप भी स्टील करो ना, करके दिखाए. See, it's not that simple. Chinese, I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm an admirer of China and anything, but there are certain things that China did right. Like, first thing they did right, I can take a couple of minutes. First thing that they did right was, between 1980 and 2000, or later 1990s, for 15-20 years, they singularly focused on economic development. They kept all other things on the back burner. Not that they did not have other problems. They had poverty problems, they had regional issues, they had so many other issues. But they decided, ideological issues over and above that. In fact, when Deng Xiaoping, as supreme leader, decided to bring European companies to build airports, build ports, build roads and all that, a lot of discussion happened within the Communist Party of China. How can a communist country allow Western, the capitalist countries to come and do all this in our country? They will take over our economy and all that. Deng had a very famous statement. It's a very famous statement of Deng. He said, I don't care about the color of the cat as long as it is catching the mice. This was his famous statement. जब तक चूहे को पकड़ रहा है, बिल्ली का रंग क्या है, इससे मुझे क्या करना है? This was brutal pragmatism. Then somebody asked him in the Communist Party, but ये तो capitalists है, capitalists will take over your country. He says, no, they can never take over my country. Whenever I want, I will kick them out. They have to leave this country and go away, but they cannot take these airports and ports with them. This was the pragmatism. So they kept ideology on the back burner. So there was a pragmatic approach to the thing. That is when they grew. You know, they have a program called 1,000 Talents program. Through 1,000 Talents program, they reached out to every expert, every Chinese expert teaching anywhere in the world, and asked them only one thing: can you come to China, teach in my university for 6 months to 1 year? Your salary will be protected. If you want to completely come back, your salary will be protected. Or at least come for 6 months, keep your citizenship of America, Canada, wherever you are, come back. This 1,000 Talents program brought hundreds of Chinese experts back to China. They were instrumental in completely overhauling the R&D system in China. And today's China's R&D is much more advanced. Now, one can say, why can't you do that in India? Try in Pune University. बाकी सारे प्रोफेसर स्ट्राइक कर देंगे. How can you give them American salary? You can't address these challenges in India. So there are certain things that they have done right. So they reached there. Okay, they have certain political system which we probably can't have it, but don't say that because of that political system they did it. Even on the question of subsidies, I can tell you. You read the history of Huawei, how it grew. Chinese supported all their companies, not just one company. They supported, as a state policy, they supported all companies, but they created enormous domestic competition. Between Huawei and WTO, there was cutthroat competition. Sir, I think you are privy to that. Cutthroat competition globally. Huawei and WTO, दोनों तो Chinese companies थे, एक दूसरे को खत्म करने में लगे रहते थे. Like how corporates act. They allowed that internal competition also. They followed a particular model which yielded them results. So instead of saying whether they copied or stole, simply, proof of the pudding is ultimately in its eating. They are successful. Japan did the same thing. I don't want to get into too much of details. In 80s, 70s and 80s, the Japanese did exactly the same thing. In fact, copycat economy they used to be called. So countries follow different methods. At the end of the day, are you able to create your own success? That is where ultimately one has to judge countries.
That is the mouse which has to be caught. So I can see two hands in the last row. Let's ask the youngsters who are sitting in the last row. I think you're youngsters because I can't see you clearly. But please state your name, and of course, questions should be short and crisp.
So, good evening, sir. Thank you. Your points were really insightful. I'm an intern here at PIC, and we are right now, I can tell you, doing work on the reforms you spoke of. But, sir, I feel currently the reason reforms are not happening in India is because of them being politically unpopular, or you meeting resistance from a lot of different groups like unions or other lobbies. So, sir, why do you think going forward those same reasons won't apply anymore and reform will be possible, whether it be the low-hanging one or the high priority one? Thank you.
Hello. Thank you for allowing backbenchers. My name is Ganesh. I'm working with the government of Maharashtra currently. Sir, आपने कहा कि वो bureaucracy and system enabler नहीं है, blocker है. और they block the ideas, they block the various activities. तो उसको reforms आप क्या imagine करते हो या suggest करते हो? ये question.
Please, I think 2 questions.
Firstly, about reforms, you see, it requires only political will, nothing else. No unions can stop your reforms. You need strong political will. This government incidentally has that political will. That's why it has been able to bring in so many changes in our system. Overnight, हमने तो currency notes को ही रद्द कर दिया. It has that strong will to bring in necessary reforms. So I think reforms can happen under this government. If they cannot happen under Modi, I cannot imagine if anyone else will have that kind of a willpower. So it requires that willpower, and he's trying. And even very recently, last year, not last year, a few months ago, government has now come out with a major regulatory reform bill. Entire regulatory infrastructure will be reformed, which is a major requirement in our country. So I think for those important reforms, whether it is low-hanging or major reforms, government has the willpower. But yes, partly your point is also true. Sometimes political agitations, public agitations can create hurdles in that process. We have seen agricultural reforms. Government wanted real reforms to happen, but certain groups, take to streets and year-long campaigns and all. Sometimes certain things can cause certain hindrance, but the political will is what is main factor. I think we have that. Bureaucratic reforms, you see, this is not something that I am probably saying for the first time. Several efforts happened in the last 75 years. People like Ram Manohar Lohia had such harsh words for our bureaucracy. I mean, Indian bureaucracy, which we inherited from Westminster model of British. It's actually Westminster model bureaucracy. As I told you, Cornwallis, as the Governor General, brought it first. Then it continued, and in 1926 they created UPSC to train Indian civil servants. ICS training dene ke liye shuru kiya. Tab tak they used to come from outside, from Britain. So there have been many efforts at reforming this bureaucracy. The last major effort happened during UPA regime. In 2005, Veerappa Moily-led committee was appointed to look into major bureaucratic and administrative reforms. It made several recommendations, but one of the important recommendations was about this, drawing experts into the administrative roles. It suggested that, automatic seniority-based promotion system should probably change. In its place, you should allow experts to come in laterally. One very important suggestion it made. The second important suggestion it made was that there should be certain mechanism to ensure ethics and accountability. These are the two words that committee used. You have to ensure ethics in bureaucracy. You have to ensure accountability in bureaucracy. How do you ensure it? So they suggested certain important suggestions. So we have many efforts have been made. There are enough suggestions available, and in fact, in a country like UK also today, a major debate is raging over whether that Westminster model of bureaucracy, which is first of all not accountable. You are not accountable in bureaucracy. And that whole system of automatic promotion, as I said, I mean, today you are an expert on globalization, tomorrow Gobar gas. Is the system right, or we have to amend it? Huge debate is going on in that country also. So in India also we have to take it seriously, and we have to probably find ways of bringing in good reforms. Again, I am repeating, it's not a comment on bureaucrats. We had such legendary bureaucrats in our country, such wonderful people who have used this system for the benefit of our country, and because of that, those people only, country has reached this stage today. We have such legendary bureaucrats who have taken this country forward, administration forward, but overall that system is still a square peg in a round hole.
We'll take two last questions because we're running out of time. There's a hand up there at the back and one waving from there. So we'll take those two questions. We have some time afterwards with Dr. Ram Madhavji, but maybe you can ask him at an informal level. So, no, here, somewhere here. Ite, Pune.
Yeah. You've been talking a lot about central reforms, etc., but the common man really suffers at a local level. Nothing seems to be happening. I mean, you kind of touched on it by saying that the roads are bad, the water system is bad, the air is bad. What is going to happen about the real local level reform? Is there some plan to do something? Is there some incentive, some carrot, some stick? Or we better learn to live with it and suffer it?
Hello, sir. This is Rucha Patwardhan. Just wanted to understand, if you could throw some light on reforms in judiciary. Thank you.
Yes, reforms, when I said, also it has to happen at various levels, including local levels. Originally, at the time of our independence itself, we opted for a system which is top-heavy. I mean, we created a power structure in which there is one central government, there's the next state government. These two became the main centers of power. All others basically remained just agencies to implement things. That was not the model envisaged originally by people like Gandhi and many others. They wanted powers to be percolated to lowest units. If you see countries like USA, today cities have so much power. Each city mayor in USA is so powerful, he can decide whether he should allow an industry to come or not come, whether he should bring investment or not investment. Mayors come to different countries. Mayors groups come from US to different countries. हमारे भी लोग जाते हैं तो मस्ती करने जाते हैं. But वो actually investments लाने. That kind of a model, India also envisaged it. But unfortunately, at the time of our making our structure, we decided we go with these power centers. That's why there is a challenge with these units which have, like, city government, Pune Corporation or some district unit. Through 73rd, 74th Amendment in 1993, we decided that we decentralize. We allow them to do things by themselves. So we decided to, what was called as decentralization. We attempted it, but half-heartedly. What happened was, the original suggestion was that decentralize three things: funds, functions, and functionaries. 3 F's have to be decentralized. But what happened was, only funds were decentralized. I should not be seen as blaming any institution, but somehow our system decided that there are functions and functionaries का freedom नहीं देंगे. As a result, what is happening is, I handled those districts like Ladakh. Ladakh ka district collector, DM, has 250 different programs to implement. One of them, you will be shocked to know, one of them is जो वूल देने वाले गोट्स होते हैं उनका काउंट रखना पड़ता है. ये डिस्ट्रिक्ट कलेक्टर का काम है. But we decided that everything is centralized in the state. So somewhere we have to change it, then probably things will improve. First state to do that is incidentally Jammu and Kashmir. Jammu and Kashmir, after 2019 abrogation of Article 370, decided that we will give not only funds, but also functions and functionaries, that freedom to have its own functions, its own functionaries to lower units. Today, in Jammu and Kashmir, villages have their own powers. Government just says, I am giving you 1 crore rupees. If you want 2 clerks to be appointed, you appoint. If you want your school building to be repaired, you spend that money. If you want you need a cow shed for your cattle, you do that. That decision you take. Hitherto, I will give funds only when I approve your project. And we used to sanction toilets to villages, and people used to tie their cattle in the toilets. Because they needed cow sheds, you gave them toilets. Bottom-up approach was not happening. So, to your question, not to extend it, I agree with you largely that one of the failures is our failure to devolve powers and, the powers like function and functionary powers also. Probably if we do that, local administrations can handle things much better. They can tap into local pool. They can probably do things much better. Unfortunately, I agree with you. In many places, we are struggling. Judicial reforms, again, long-pending challenge in India. Nowadays, judicial overreach is, it has become so much that practically governments are practically handheld by judiciary today. Governments are run by judiciary. It's a difficult situation. I can't have any immediate answer for it. There was an effort to bring in that National Judicial Appointments Commission, NJAC and all that. It hit a roadblock. We have challenges. But yes, judiciary also need, again, as I said, this judicial system also is inherited from the British period. And we are having serious challenges with it also. Thank you.
Please join me in a round of applause for Dr. Ram Madhav ji. Thank you so much. Can I hand it back to Ritika? Ritika, please take over. Thank you.
Thank you to our audience for your thoughtful questions and to our distinguished speakers for their illuminating responses. Conversations like these truly enrich our understanding and provide us with new ways of looking at India's policy challenges and opportunities. Now, I invite Dr. Ravi Pandit, Treasurer, Pune International Centre, and co-founder and chairman, KPIT Technologies Limited, to the stage to felicitate Dr. Madhav. Thank you, sir. Now, I invite Major General Nitin Gadkari, Director, Pune International Centre, to deliver closing remarks and vote of thanks. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Ram Madhav. When I looked at my watch, it's almost 2 hours gone. I didn't realize it. I profusely, on behalf of PIC, thank you for firstly accepting our invite and giving us such an insightful thought. The reason may have been your book, sir, but the journey was practically whole of India. You may agree with him, with his political alignments or not, but the truth was written all over the place. I don't know if I've heard anyone so candid about the problems that we have. And some of the punchlines that he has given, I think, will remain with me, is something like power of choice. We are aggregators, not creators. Then you're talking about skilling, reskilling, and upskilling. And the final was your take on J&K. It gladdened my heart. I'm sure it gladdened everybody's heart here, including General Patankar was Joseph 15 Corps. Everything that you said about J&K is absolutely true. Nobody knows it better than you. All that remains for me to once again thank Dr. Ram Madhav, also thank Professor Ambassador Bambawale, Amita, Yadwadkar. I also want to thank all the people who have come here in large numbers, and I find this hall absolutely full today. The trustees of Pune International Centre, thanks to whom this beautiful hall has come up, and we've had the opportunity to listen to Dr. Ram Madhav. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.